back to another episode of Education Closet On Demand. I'm your host, Susan Riley. I'm also an arts integration specialist and the founder of educationcloset.com. Today, I'm switching up the studio a little bit. You're back in my office, and for a good reason, because I want to address a question that I have been receiving more and more frequently over the last couple of weeks. And we typically receive this question right around this time of year, and we also receive it right around the beginning of the following school year. And that is, what happens when you're told no? So many of us who are excited about arts integration and STEAM efforts, and we get training or we go and view classes, or we compile a bunch of research and information and say, this is where we need to go. I know it in my soul. This is where we need to head with our students. When they present it to their administration, or they present it to other staff, or even their own teams, they're met with a lot of resistance. They're met with people who tell them, that sounds nice, but not right now. It's never a straight out no, right? It's never just, no, we're done. We're not doing this. It's typically much nicer than that. This is a great idea. I'm very glad that you researched this, but not at this time. We have a lot of other initiatives going on. Code word, no. So what do you do when you get met with resistance like that? Well, so today I wanted to share with you a personal story to me of a time when somebody said flat out no, and what that caused in the long term. So for a while, right after I got my master's degree, I had it in administration and supervision. And I was applying for assistant principal positions. And I didn't get one that I really wanted. And I remember it had been my second time applying to that particular AP pool. And so I called the person who was in charge of the AP pool, and I asked if I could schedule a meeting with that person to see if they would be able to provide me with some feedback, because I thought, all right, if I'm not getting this position, there must be something that I'm doing wrong, whether on my resume or in my interviews. And I really want to know what it is, because otherwise I'm just wasting my time and theirs. So I remember calling to this person, and they picked up the phone, and they were gracious enough to take my call. But then I asked, could you provide this feedback for me? And this person went and looked at my file, and they said, actually, you're scoring really well on everything with the resume. It just looks like you don't have a lot of experience yet. And remember, at this time, I was in my late 20s, and I had been to about 2 different schools. I had 2 different school experiences. And this person had said, you don't really have a lot of experience yet, and otherwise, your interview was great, your resume was wonderful, but my recommendation to you is to go home, make babies, and come back in 15 years. Literally, that was what was told to me. I will never forget that, because I was sitting there with the phone in my hand, stunned that someone would say that to someone who was truly looking for honest feedback. And I wanted honest feedback, so that's what I got. If you're ever looking for a straight out no, that is what you can expect. So I remember getting very, very upset and feeling like I had no control over this situation. I had no control over my destiny at all. It was in the hands of somebody else who was higher than me and making a decision about me based solely on something I could not control, my age. My age. That was essentially it. So after feeling sorry for myself for about 5 minutes, maybe a little longer. I think maybe I gave myself a full day. I remember going home and having quite the conversation with my husband. I decided then and there that no doesn't necessarily mean no. No means not this thing this way. So eventually, I went into central office. I took much higher leadership roles. And it wasn't to prove anything to anybody. And I think that's sometimes where we get into the trap. We want to prove that we can do this, we can make this work. And here's the thing. I think we have control over maybe 10% of what we get, and the rest of it is left up to everything else around us. But that 10%, you got to give 100% to that 10%. I think that it's a dance between making it work and allowing it to happen. And if we go into it with that mindset, that first no, or that no that we get that is, disheartening to us, we think about, okay, not this thing, not this way. So maybe change the way that we're going about it. Or maybe we think about how to repackage the thing that we want to do. So in the case of arts integration and STEAM, when somebody says, I'm getting a no, I always ask them to go and get feedback. Number one, you've got to ask why. And if it's somebody telling you to go home and make babies and come back in 15 years, take that with a grain of salt and think about, okay, that person is just not the right person to be approaching with this scenario. Who else can I go to? Where else can I go to get information? But typically you'll get some good feedback like, we don't have enough research, we don't have enough funds, we don't have the buy-in, and those are all things that you can do something about. You can do something about lack of budget through grants, through scholarships, through community partnerships. There's so many options out there. There's a ton of research. We can show you how to create buy-in, and in fact, that is coming up on Ed Closet in a new course that we're developing as to how to build buy-in and giving you the exact strategies and tools that you need to create this excitement and buy-in from everybody on your staff. There are ways around the no. It's a matter of remembering not this thing, not this way. Okay, so which way are we going to mold it, change it, repackage it so that we still get to do what we're passionate about? We still get to do the thing that we know in our soul is the right thing. We're just doing it a different way. So I hope that this little insight, this personal story, kind of helped you a little bit if you're struggling with this whole idea of no. On the bright side, and the reason I kind of wanted to do it in my office today, is to show you that this is my office. I get the joy of doing what I set out to do when I called that person years ago and asked for feedback about why I wasn't getting where I wanted to go. There was a bigger plan. There's a different idea of how to get to where I wanted to go. And this would never, where I'm sitting right now, would never be where I would have been sitting had I taken the other path. So keep the faith, keep going forward, keep moving forward, keep thinking about how can I repackage this, or maybe take that no, learn from it, and make it into a yes. I wish you all the best this week, and I look forward to seeing you next week right here on Education Closet On Demand.